and welcome to the Cantina Chatter podcast. My name is Victoria, and I will be your guide on this adventure through toys, collectibles, and film discussion. Toys. They're freaking awesome. I mean, sure, I'm a grown adult, but like many of you listening, I was never able to put an age cap on when I should stop enjoying toys. Star Wars, Jurassic Park, Batman, Marvel, etc., etc. And it could be worse, John. A lot worse. Some people burn some of their extra cash on booze, others on gambling, but toys are pretty wholesome, right? Anything to justify it to ourselves, right? Well, New York Toy Fair 2019 has come and gone, and with it, many new toys were revealed across a multitude of brands, franchises, and companies. In last week's episode, I was joined by Cantina correspondent Tom, who we sent to New York Toy Fair to cover Hasbro's reveals for all their product lines. We had a fun chat dissecting the new Star Wars reveals, and there were quite a few of them. In this episode, I will be joined by Tim of Collect Jurassic, one of the most frequently updated and reliable sources for the latest Jurassic World toy news and information. Tim spent time at New York Toy Fair this past week, and he was gracious enough to chat with me about all the wonderful new dinosaur toys he saw at Mattel's booth. All right, Tim from Collect Jurassic, welcome to the Cantina.
Awesome, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure to have you on the show. This is your very first time on the show, and you were off at New York Toy Fair checking out all the new offerings that were announced and on display from Mattel for their Jurassic World toy line. And I know it's something that we've all been hugely focused on since the line debuted last April. And you've been doing an extraordinarily great job of covering it on your website, collectjurassic.com, and on social media. And there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know that there was not an abundance of Jurassic toys like when the movie launched last year, and there was probably more than we could even keep track of. But there's definitely like a ton to unpack here. A lot of like features to these figures they announced. So yeah, I do think there's definitely a lot to go through.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit before we get started about Collect Jurassic and what your goals are with the site and everything that you share there in terms of news.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I started it a few months ago. I've been collaborating with quite a few different people like Tom from Tom Jurassic. Jurassic Contrast has helped us with photography, and we're reaching out and trying, different things with different people in the community. But really what I wanted was a toy collecting site that rivaled like the Star Wars collecting websites, which I'm sure you're very familiar with. Something like Yak Face was just such a cool resource for me whenever I was collecting Star Wars figures. And it was like, man, something like this should exist for Jurassic that's telling you, this is spotted in this store and these are in stock now. And, these toys were announced. It was just a really cool resource for Star Wars. And I was like, there's a real need for that for Jurassic. So that's really, my ultimate mission with the site and the platform is to just inform collectors, what's hitting and where it's hitting. And then, of course, with things like Toy Fair, kind of covering that a little more in depth, too.
Awesome. And yeah, that's a really good point. There's plenty of those sites for Star Wars, and there have been for years. For Jurassic, not so much. I know there's jptoys.com. That's like the old classic site that's been around a long time, but yeah, it's not really one that gets updated, and the news doesn't get posted constantly like you're doing on Collect Jurassic. So yeah, I definitely agree that there was a need for that, and I'm really happy to see that you're feeling that need, because everything you're doing through the site has just been remarkable. A really great job on all the content you've been putting out.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. I mean, again, JP Toys has been around forever. I probably was on there when I was like 12. I don't know how long it's been, but been on there since I was young. Been collecting Jurassic since I was 6. And, there's a whole new generation of collectors now. And that's kind of like, for me, this site was striking while the iron was hot. Jurassic World, even with just Mattel, I feel like they've created a massive new generation of Jurassic collectors. So it's the way to connect with them is, something like this.
Definitely. And it's a great resource for all the latest Jurassic World toy collecting news. So I will put a link to that in the show notes so that our listeners can go and check it out.
Cool. Awesome.
So let's start with something that actually came out today. It's something that wasn't on display at Toy Fair, and it probably should have been, because it's really odd that they would basically reveal it fully in an official capacity the day that Toy Fair has come to an end. But so yeah, the Mattel Jurassic World Legacy Collection Brachiosaurus. What do you think?
Oh man, I mean, I think everyone who has ever collected Jurassic Park toys has dreamed of this Brachiosaurus figure, and I think for me, seeing it in the flesh, it's literally like the perfect manifestation of the Brachiosaur toy. I always wanted the size, the articulation, just the whole style of it. I'm totally blown away by it. I did want to speak about why it wasn't at Toy Fair, and I'm sure this has been said in a few other places, but Toy Fair is really for retailers and distributors to come and kind of shop different companies' toys, what they could carry. In the case of the Brachiosaurus, I mean, it's principally an exclusive, and they're not going to bring a retailer exclusive to the Toy Fair. So that's probably a big reason why Mattel didn't show it there. But and we're hearing now, and we'll get into that later, I'm sure, is that, this is going to be an international toy, hopefully too. So there was a little opportunity for them to show it there, but I also understand why they kind of missed the boat with putting it out there too. So, but yeah, just seeing it today was totally mind blowing. It was awesome.
Yeah, the photo of it is just like, it captures the right feel. When you look at the photo, just the way that they did it with the Jeep and Dr. Grant there, and the mountains and the sky, it really like evokes that feeling of classic Jurassic Park. And for me, that's what I felt when I saw this photo. I just thought, this is an awesome toy.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. It looks immense. I think it's bigger than I was even expecting, to be honest. It looks huge.
Yeah, I think, did they say it was going to be something like 3 feet tall, or?
Yeah, so I think it's about 28 inches, or maybe 20. I don't know. I have it on the site, but it's a little over 2 feet and not quite 3 feet long. So 2 feet tall, 3 feet long. Yeah, big guy.
It's huge, and I think they did say it is in scale with the rest of the 3 3/4 inch offerings from the line. So like the human figures, the dinosaurs, and yeah, I mean, it looks stunning, and I greatly appreciate. I mean, they could have easily based it off the more Fallen Kingdom Brachiosaurus design. Which is a little different, of course. And I'm really glad they didn't base it off the Jurassic Park 3 design. But yeah, I mean, it's clearly classic Jurassic Park. I mean, the head sculpt, the way it kind of has like that little hint of like a smile on it. Just the sculpting, the coloration. I mean, it's very classic looking, and I'm really happy about what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, like I said, it's literally like if you went into my brain when I was 7 years old and pulled out the toy that I wanted Kenner to come out with back in the day. Like, this is it. It's awesome. I know a lot of people are probably familiar with the Horizon line of Jurassic Park models that came out back then, and they had a great Brachiosaur model. It was awesome, and it was if you had one, it was a decent stand-in for a Kenner toy, but it had no articulation, and that's what like this is so awesome. We have the neck with the rotating neck, the jaw, obviously the legs and the tail. I mean, it's going to be awesome. I actually had someone message me and ask me if it was going to be able to stand up on its hind legs. Well, I don't think it's going to be able to do that, but it's cool that we can at least try to do it. So very, very cool thing. Yeah,
definitely. And have you found any information yet in terms of pricing?
Yeah, so it's going to be the suggested retail price, which is always dubious, but I mean, so far all the suggested retail prices Mattel has listed for their new stuff have been on the mark, but the one for this is $49.99, which is just crazy. I mean, wow. I would have thought this was a $70 to $80 figure, and you'd certainly see toy companies take advantage of collectors and mark things up because they know people will pay, but $50 is just, I mean, it's awesome. It's great that they can offer it at that price point. So
yeah, absolutely. That's remarkably good.
Yeah.
I too expected it was going to be at least the price of the Super Colossal, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, for a toy this size and for how dynamic the shelf presence it's going to have you can't beat that price. And I mean, that's a testament to a lot of things that Mattel has done right with this toy line is marketing these toys at pricing that is attractive not only to collectors but also to families. I mean, you're keeping it affordable. Just as with a $30 Mosasaurus, which I think is still a really good deal. Even something as big as the Super Colossal at $55 is still, for what you're getting, I think is pretty great.
Yeah, and I think like what you said about the mosasaur, I think this is kind of in the same sort of thought, is that I'm guessing they're going to find a way to, condense it a little bit in its box so that when it is sitting there on the shelf, it looks like a $50 figure, but it also, it's not this tiny little box either. So I think they probably have a balance there where they're, kind of paring this item down by taking it apart in a box, but still kind of selling what kind of big figure it is too.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited to see package samples of this because I agree it's going to look interesting. However, they decide to display it so that it's not, this huge box that's sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, I've been staring at the picture trying to figure out how they're gonna pop something off here or there, but I guess we'll see. I hope soon enough.
Yep, we'll find out. So let's go ahead and get into the items that were on display at New York Toy Fair for the Mattel Jurassic World toy line. And I'm going off your site here, collectjurassic.com, and just using that as a basis for what we are going to be discussing. So looking at the site here, there's the first article you have here, Mattel at New York Toy Fair 2019, expectations and dream reveals. So this is stuff that you were hoping was going to be revealed at the show initially. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, actually that's Tom Jurassic actually wrote that article for us. And it was kind of, he was definitely kind of putting to word what we were all thinking. So yeah, it's what we were hoping and expecting to see at the show and some of our wild dream, expectations too. But as you can see, we didn't see most of what we were hoping to see, but we definitely got a tease at a lot of stuff too. So
yeah, nice. And Tom's great. I love Tom.
Yeah, he's great, man. He pumps stuff out, and yeah, he's definitely got like a great, attitude about covering this stuff and being, very respectful of, all the hard work that Mattel and other companies do put into this stuff. So
Absolutely.
definitely great working with him.
We need more of that too, because a lot of people are quick to just look at things on the surface and say, oh, Mattel's lazy, or it's Mattel's fault that I can't get this item in my country, and there's just like a huge lack of, I think, compassion and understanding for all that goes into, producing a toy line like this. It's a very big toy line. It's not something, that you can easily collect. It's very big, and there's a lot of exclusives. There's a lot of items that are available, even that we can't get here in the US that are available and have been available elsewhere. So yeah, I think it might be easy to jump to conclusions, but I think that's definitely something we need more of, is a little bit more patience, a little bit more understanding, and, researching, why some of these decisions may be made, and just kind of coming to the understanding that we're not going to know all the answers. Some of this stuff is done behind the scenes, and we're just never going to see the reasoning for it. Right.
Yeah. I could probably do a whole episode on negativity and fans. Things like that, but really, it's a great problem that we have, that we can't manage to collect all these toys. It's a great problem because there is so many. If they had released a much more condensed, streamlined assortment of a couple Raptors and a couple T-Rexes, and basically just did something a little bit more limited like Hasbro did, everyone would be able to track down whatever they wanted, because there'd only be 10 items. But Mattel has given us a wonderful problem, and they've released way too much stuff, released it everywhere all over the world. And if you're real serious about it, you can track it all down. But that's what's fun for a lot of collectors too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And and if you don't want to collect it all, that's okay too. You can focus more on those key items like the mosasaur or the brachiosaurus, or just make it your own. And I think that's the great thing about collecting, is there's not really a right or wrong way to do it. You just collect as you see fit.
Again, that appreciation for what Mattel has done for this franchise. It's like, I don't want to hear for a second that they are lazy or don't care, because obviously they put a great deal of thought and care, not just to making them great toys for kids, but making them great toys for Jurassic fans and Jurassic collectors. So, just tons of respect there from me.
Absolutely. Very well said. So let's go ahead and look at the items that were on display. So I'm looking at your article. It says, see Mattel's Indominus Rex and more. So Let's go ahead and mention the Indominus Rex here because this is one of the items that has had a lot of hype behind it. It's one of the things that people have been wanting to see for a long time, and they've been pestering Mattel. Are you going to do an Indominus Rex? Are you going to do an Indominus? And I think, obviously they were, and they did. And yeah, here it is. So you got to see it in person. What were your impressions of the Indominus Rex?
Oh, man. I mean, it was everything I hoped it would be. I think the second that Jurassic World toys first came out from Mattel and they did that miniature little see-through Indominus Rex as part of like a blind bag thing, we all knew that this was coming. It was just a matter of like when. And I think, the figure itself, I was expecting something in the lines of the Extreme Chomp and Spinosaur to be a little bit, a little more stylish and not so like movie true, because that kind of was the case with a lot of dinosaur figures that weren't in Fallen Kingdom. But I mean, when we first saw it a couple months ago, just like a little tease, and then seeing it come out from the Toy Fair, I mean, it just looks so much like the movie. That's the first thing that strikes me. The head sculpt, especially, we've seen so many approximations of the Indominus with Hasbro toys and other things, but they just got the silhouette and the features, everything about it perfect. And obviously, the big thing with this figure is the action features too. I saw them demonstrated, like, I saw Owen get eaten like probably 50 times that weekend. And it's just so cool. I mean, it's a little bit different than the Thrash and Throw. The Thrash and Throw T-Rex, is hinged at the waist and also has another neck hinge. And it works great. But the Indominus is a little different because it's hinged, like its leg joints are hinged. So you don't really have that huge seam in the waist, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. But it's the same kind of idea where it pops down and kind of naturally lunges down and bites. And then, he would swing it back up and its neck would swing up, and then he would kind of gobble it down. There's an action feature on the tail that chomps. And then you have those LED lights that light up the figure in the throat, which is just, I think it's totally awesome. I've seen a couple people be like, why is that there? I mean, it's not in the movie or anything, but it's so cool. And what's also cool about it is if you don't like it, like, it's not like some honking thing you can see when you don't use it. It's just there. Yeah. It's there on it. And if not, you're not going to notice it. But I think it's cool. I think it's like, almost like some sort of weird secret Indominus canon that we've had two figures now with light up LEDs inside. It's like, did it light up in the movie or something? We didn't know about it, but I just think it's awesome that it lights up the figures in the throat. One thing I want to clear up though, because a lot of people ask, is like, does the figures come out from its stomach or something like that? But it actually just goes into its neck, and then that's as far as it goes. And then you just have to, like, make Indominus cough the poor guy out. But just a really cool feature. I mean, we all think it's cool, sure, but like, kids are going to eat that up. I mean, that's just too awesome. And I also think it's a little less cumbersome than having them go down to the stomach and have kids having toys get jammed up in the throat and pulling them out. Like, I think it's a good little shortcut they did with that. And they didn't really need to, mess with the mechanics of making it go all the way down. So that was awesome. And then I think the other action feature, makes the arms swipe, not unlike the Grab and Growl Indoraptor, but definitely, the arms in this guy are way more like sturdy, articulated at the shoulder, articulated at the elbow, so you can move them all around. They're not kind of just stuck in this weird, awkward hug. Like, you can move them all around. I did on the figure. I mean, we got to hold the figure, feel it, and move things around on it. So that kind of articulation is really cool to see with the Indominus, especially because his arms are such a huge part of his character design. Right,
absolutely. And you brought up a good point that it does have this light up feature that some people are not too excited about, but it is hidden, like you're saying. It is something that you're not going to necessarily see unless you're playing with it, obviously. And I think that's something they kind of did really well on the Battle Damage Albertosaurus that recently came out, because they were very smart about it. They included the little the door on the side of its on its rib cage. On the same side, they included the little scratches on its legs. So if you didn't want to see that, you just turn it up to this other side, and you're not going to see that on your shelf.
Totally.
But you made a good point also that it has a very movie accurate aesthetic. That was something that I was very curious about because a lot of the toys in this line have had a little bit more of a cartoony, caricature sort of look to them. I'm thinking of things like the Spinosaurus and maybe to a lesser extent things like the Suchomimus, and of course a lot of the attack packs. But I mean, this is very movie accurate. It's got a very realistic sculpt. The skull is painted beautifully. All the shading and everything is very nicely done. So yeah, they did a great job on the aesthetics on this one.
Yeah, and I'm wondering too. I've heard it kicked around a few places that some of the figures are so much more, amazingly accurate because they are using those ILM, like literal renders of the dinosaurs. And maybe that's the case with Indominus too. They had access to some sort of 3D assets that let them just totally nail it, because they really did. It just looks perfect. It's awesome.
Yeah, it does. Just looking at the picture here, it's it's great. I mean, I can't wait to get this.
Yeah, and scale wise, I don't think the pictures I have up right now have it in there. We have like hundreds of pictures to go through to get up online, but there's a lot of pictures with it next to the Bite and Fight T-Rex, which again I have to just have to blast. Like, that's my favorite T-Rex. Awesome paint coloring. Love the scale of it, and they had it there at the show on the table, and it's appropriately larger than the Rex. It's not like just a smidge larger or way too big. It's like it's bigger, but it's not massively bigger. So but there's definitely other photos out there that people can find with it right next to the Rex, and it just looks awesome. It scales great.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I got to agree with you there. I absolutely love the Bite and Fight T-Rex. It's my favorite. I mean, the Super Colossal for just having the sheer presence on the shelf. But as far as the other Rexes go, I love the Bite and Fight.
Yeah, it's awesome. I have to think that somewhere in a boardroom at Mattel, they were thinking, well, we got to make another T-Rex for 2019. How are we going to get all these collectors who have already bought 3 T-Rexes to buy another T-Rex? And they figured it out with the Bite and Fight. So I think a lot of people went and bought their 4th T-Rex figure because it was just so cool.
Yeah, that's when you don't even count like T-Rexes like the Destructosaurus T-Rex or the Battle Damage Extreme Chomping T-Rex.
Yeah.
We're overloaded in T-Rex, but that's another good problem to have.
Right, exactly. They're all unique, and this one, of course, it's just like the paint aesthetic is just awesome, and I'm excited to see. I would hope they saw a strong response to that figure, and maybe we'll see a couple other Rexes with that paint scheme. But yeah, awesome figure. Definitely.
Now, for the Indominus Rex, what are the legs like as far as the articulation goes? Do they actually go sideways?
Oh, man. We got to hold it a limited time, but I didn't mess with it too much. I mean, all the figures that I held, I kind of held gingerly and didn't really want to, push it too much. So I didn't test if they had ball joints on them or anything. But they were, like kind of tied with the mechanism of chomping, so maybe they were static. I don't know. I didn't mess with it enough, honestly. We only ever held it for a minute or so.
Right on. And what do you think of the name Destroy and Devour Indominus Rex?
I love that stuff. I mean, it's funny that all these guys have the little N, the Bite and Fight, Grab and Growl. It's obviously their thing, and what I liked about it months ago when we first heard about it was like, okay, it's definitely going to be eating something. So I think it's cool, and I think kids always get into that kind of fun stuff too. So good job on Mattel.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on, we are looking at the Roarivore / Dual Attacks. Are any of these actual Roarivores, or are they all dual attacks?
No, there's a good mix in there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to just from memory. The Ankylosaur was a Roarivore. So same exact features as a regular Roarivore, just with the redeco. Baryonyx was a Roarivore. Stratosaurus was a Roarivore. The Triceratops with the awesome canceled Lost World kind of paint scheme. Yeah. That was a dual attack. And then who does that leave me with? A Concavenator, which was also dual attack. I think that's the new coloring they had out. And so yeah, it was a mix of it, which just kind of talking to some people, I guess. The Roarvors did amazing last year. They were like the literal figure that won Mattel Action Figure of the Year at the Toy Fair.
Oh wow!
And I think that they were they're really trying to get Roarvors back into the assortment. So this was sort of the quick fix, and I think they look great. But I've been told that there's more original Roarvors on the way to kind of fill in that line. So yeah, 2019 we're going to have two price points, or the same price point, but different lines of figures on shelves, with these dual attacks and these Roarvors having different paint colors. So I think there's just a couple that are, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that the Allosaurus that's on the back of one of these new figures, you can see a repainted red Allosaur. That I think that's another one in this line that just wasn't shown at the Toy Fair.
And it looks like there's also a Metriacanthosaurus that has a new coloration.
Yeah, and that one was a Roarvor too as well. So the ones that were, had been Roarvors are still straight up Roarvors, just with the repaint. And then there were those couple dual attacks too. So yeah, nice. The colors on them were just crazy. I mean, the first time I saw them, I was kind of like, whoa. But the Baryonyx was familiar. I think we'd seen a little piece of that before. I love the new Ankylosaur paint job. The Ankylosaur figure itself is just such a solid figure, but I thought the first version was a little plain, I guess. So that seeing this a little bit more, exotic paint job. I love all the Dino Rivals. I love all the crazy paint colors on them. I like the way they're very bright. So seeing it applied to these classic Roarvors is really cool, I think.
Yeah, it is cool that they are bringing them back. I know some people have taken issue with the fact that they already have these, and or do they need to buy them again, and the new colors. And obviously, if you're just collecting like one of each species, then you don't need to. But if you are collecting them all, then you're probably going to want to add them all to your collection anyway. Right,
and I think too, it's like from a business standpoint, I think any toy company, if they can get if they can make, if they can reuse something and reuse it effectively, they're going to do it. And I think this is a great opportunity to get, some cooler paint variations out there. And also I've seen people who say, oh, this is awesome. I didn't buy a Baryonyx the first time around. I totally want this, and that's cool, a cool opportunity for people too. Yeah. And that one thing about paint coloring, this is just me totally nerding out, but, I like the Suchomimus paint variations, for example, because they kind of look like they could be a mating pair. Like they kind of have the same sort of color application a little bit. But one of the things that just kind of bugs me about the Concavinator repaint is like we have this very black volcanic looking Concavinator. Then we have this one that just looks like he was on an acid trip or something. And it's like, are they supposed to be like living in the same Jurassic Park here? Like what happened here? It's just kind of funny because they don't really even complement each other, but it's still cool. And of course I'm going to get it. And of course, most people out there complaining about the repaints are probably going to buy it too. So
Sure. And yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Some of the colors, like I love the Triceratops. You mentioned there was actually a Cancel the Lost World Triceratops, and it definitely seems like they took inspiration from that to in designing the color palette for this new Triceratops. And I love that. It's awesome to see the Cerebacks like that. And it is a nice coloration. It's not too overwhelming. It's not too dull. It's nice. And I would say the same for the Ankylosaurus. Personally, I think it would have been cool if they would have tried maybe the JP3 coloration of the Ankylosaurus here, but this looks good too. It's not too over the top. It still looks fairly natural. Let's see what else. The Baryonyx, that too, it's pretty different from the original, but it still looks, pretty reptilian. It's kind of like almost like an alligator or, sort of color.
Right.
The ones
if you're really looking for those kind of Kenner homages, that Baryonyx does look a lot like a Jurassic Park dinosaurs, which was the weird Walmart Jurassic Park line. Like, it looks very similar to one of those Baryonyx. So I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I've seen a couple people point that out too. So maybe there's something there.
Yeah, yeah, it could very well be. Let's see, the Ceratosaurus. I like that. I mean, it's a very naturalistic look. It's quite different from the original. I like that. That looks nice.
Right.
But I gotta agree with you. Like the let's see, the Metriacanthosaurus. It's like this really bright red with orange highlights on its head.
Yeah.
And the Concavinator. Yeah, it's pretty far out. It almost looks like clown colors or something.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I think it's like the whole chaos effect in the 90s and the dino hybrids a few years ago. I think that they, maybe in the off year with these movies, they really find that these bright colors really help make these dinosaurs pop off the shelves, I guess. So
yeah, I think that's
these
the main.
definitely will.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. They want to differentiate it. So if you see it on the shelf, maybe you're a kid or you're not hardcore following this line like we are, you'll see that and think, you might think, well, I have a Metriacanthosaurus, but it doesn't look like that. Or, it's more enticing to want to buy it because it does look different enough.
No, that's totally true. I can totally see that. Clearly different.
For sure. And I really love the Roarvors assortment too. I mean, at the price point, $15. I think you're definitely getting your bang for your buck. And, it's one of those things that if you saw it on the shelf and you didn't have it, it's like, okay, $15. It's not too bad. You can add a fun new dinosaur to your collection. So, I'm glad that they're continuing that. And, I don't mind the repaints. Hopefully there will be eventually some new sculpts mixed in there as well. But it's great to see them just, continuing to offer these in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that they talked about the new sculpts a little bit at the booth, so I think I'm like okay to bring them up here. I don't know if these are definitely Roarvors or dual attack, but the couple ones that we can expect are I'm not great at some dinosaur names, so please don't harass me if I don't say this right. But it's the Nasuceratops or Nasutoceratops.
Yeah, Nasutoceratops.
Yeah, so I think that one it's either a dual attack or a Roarvor that's coming. And then we already know from San Diego Comic-Con the Amagrosaurus, and that one was a mega dual attack. And then the Quetzalcoatlus, which I think was also a mega dual attack. And they did mention those like often at the actual little Jurassic World booth. So I think that was the way of them telling, press and people asking like, yes, there's more than just repaints on the way. They're just not here. So they did bring those species up rather often.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool to see all of those other ones too, because those are different species. And I anticipate that we'll see those later in the year, hopefully at a San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So moving along, so this one was a surprise. I really was not expecting Super Colossal Velociraptor Blue. So what do you make of that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone saw that on the radar. I think a lot of people thought they were going to do a Triceratops because it was so prominently featured on the box. But I mean, it's so cool. So I was at the booth 2 different days, and the first day I was there, it was stuck in the box. Its jaw was open super wide, and I was like, nah. It really gave me like a Hasbro Raptor vibes. But then the second day we were there, they actually had it out of the box, had its legs and tail connected on, and it was instantly like, oh man, this is cool. And then we were playing with it, and we shut the jaw a little bit more, and that's when I started to take a bunch of pictures, and I was like, this is like a very faithful representation of Blue. I mean, they obviously don't have razor sharp teeth in there. It's a toy, but it's a very, very faithful representation of Blue. And I think I've said somewhere, as a kid having a Jurassic Raptor this big, I mean, that's another just dream toy. The thing is huge. It's clearly a Jurassic Raptor. This is one that I am so stoked for someone like Ted Brothers or someone to take a crack at repainting. It's going to be like the coolest. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. So cool that it's Blue, but I'm also excited to see other people transform it into like, the Lost World Tiger Raptors or the original Raptor, because it's just a very faithful Jurassic Raptor looking toy. So
absolutely. Yeah. I totally didn't expect it. And looking at it in the photos, it looks cool. I mean, it's blue. I mean, I love blue. Blue's like my favorite. Yeah. But it's like, where am I going to put this?
Right. No, I feel that way about a lot of stuff with this line.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I'm
for
probably still going to pick it up. One of the things that they were mentioning in like the press materials were, and they used quotes to say glass eyes. I don't think the eyes are literally glass, but they do have a very like realistic, translucent look to the way they painted them or installed them. So that's a really cool, a really cool thing they did to really connect it to Blue. I mean, it does look like Blue's eyes, which I thought was a nice little feature. And it also does swallow toys the same way as the Super Colossal Rex. I didn't look at the stomach or anything, but playing with the jaws, I could see that it had, a large throat that led down somewhere. So it definitely is able to swallow toys too.
That's awesome. So I'm glad that they're keeping the play factor there. And I imagine it's probably going to be roughly about the same size as the T-Rex. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, it looked about the same size. I mean, it's kind of a little bit more stocky and built differently, but it definitely felt every bit as big as the Extreme Chompin' Rex or the Super Colossal Rex. Every bit as big.
Right on. So probably just something people should keep in mind. It's not really meant to scale with the Super Colossal T-Rex. It's kind of its own thing, and I assume that anything that's any Super Colossal type release will probably be its own thing, and obviously display very nicely if you just wanted a single Super Colossal piece, as the T-Rex does. It's just very, very imposing, and I imagine this will be the same. It does look really good. It's got a gorgeous sculpt. I'm just looking at the pictures here, and lots of texturing going on the skin and the striations along the body and the contouring and the way they applied, like you were talking about, the eyes. They look very realistic. Yeah. And it looks great. I really hope I can find a place to put it, because I have my T-Rex on the top of my D-top, so it's like in a very prominent spot, but I only have one of those, so. I might have to get another one of those so that I can display Super Colossal Blue on it too.
Right. It's just, that and the Brachiosaur are going to make everybody, invest in some new shelf space. So. Oh,
yeah. So let's see here. So next we have Primal Pal Blue. So it says that it's a little bit different. It kind of looks a little bit like the Hatch and Play Blue, but it looks like this might be a little different. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's definitely bigger, and it's got electronics and a little bit more of a play feature. I would put it at about maybe 1.5 feet, maybe not that big, maybe more like a little under a foot. But yeah, it's bigger, and it's kind of hard to explain, but the way they have it kind of all hinged together is when you press down on its back, it kind of pivots at the hips and moves really realistically. I'm trying to think of a toy that I could compare it to, but I can't really think of something. But yeah, I mean, it's all mechanized so that it can kind of pivot back and forth and move its arms and growl, and when you push it kind of down on its hips, it lunges forward and its mouth opens and it makes noise. I think there's a few YouTube videos you could go look at if you're really interested in seeing how it moved. It's really cute. I mean, obviously, I think they have a lot they could cash in on with that baby blue. I'm actually surprised there isn't more baby blue merchandise out there in the world. I think that would be. I think it's a popular thing, and I think this is definitely looking to get in on that. But yeah, it's a little reminiscent of the Hatch and Play blue, but obviously a little bigger. And it looks like it's going to be a super fun thing again for kids. I think kids will really get after it, especially with the Hatchimals and all the other, semi-robotic stuffed animals and semi-robotic dinosaurs you see in the toy aisle. This will be, at home right there with those. So,
yeah, this will definitely be a fun one. And did they give you a price point on this by any chance?
I have it. They gave it to me as separate. I think it's $25.
Oh, wow,
or $24.99. So yeah, no, I mean, again, I think every price point they announce, I'm just like, wow, really? Okay. $24.99. And it's a fall figure. So yeah. And with electronics and everything. So, awesome value on that one.
For sure. This will definitely make like a good gift if you wanted to get like a birthday gift for somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope it does well. 'Cause just dream toy announcements. If they did a baby Triceratops like this, or a baby Rex, like that would be awesome. I mean, I love Blue, but Blue is very much a character, and it's cool to get dinosaur species that aren't really characters, but just like an actual, baby dinosaur, like a Triceratops or something. That would be an awesome figure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's see. Was there anything else that Mattel had out for Jurassic, or did we pretty well cover everything?
I think I didn't have it in that article yet, but the Snap Squad, the little guys on the end of their booth, these were just little tiny. They're like again, going back to the hatch and play dinosaurs that with those big giant eyes. It was kind of like a step in that kind of style. So they weren't meant to be these perfect Mattel figure designs. I mean, they're very much cartoony. Kind of cashing in on that sort of style. But what really sold me on these was, so they're called Snap Squad because they have, it's like a chip clip almost. They have hinged jaws with a lot of pressure. And the presenter was snapping them to his jacket or snapping them on his finger. But when they're on your finger and you wiggle them, again, a video you should seek out and find to watch. When you wiggle them, they have their little loose arms and legs and tails, and they wiggle just like a tiny little dinosaur like that would if it was clamped onto your finger. And it's just a really cute thing. And people are going to be putting them on their backpack and on their purse strap and things like that. I think is really kind of, and obviously little kids are just going to be playing with it anyway. I think that's really what it's aimed for, is just kind of a half collectible, half fun kid thing. Those were priced great too. I think they were $4.99 or $5.99. Had a bunch of different species. They had Velociraptor, T-Rex, Carnotaur, Dilophosaurus, Indominus Rex, Indoraptor, all of the major carnivores. I think those were coming out in at least one wave, maybe two, but they had different colorways. They had a really cool green Dilophosaurus and they had a gray Dilophosaurus. So just little cool designs. That kind of accessory to the main Mattel line stuff is always a cool thing to try to track down and collect too. Not blind bags; they will be on a card back so you can see what you're getting. But yeah, nice little cool surprise there too.
Yeah, they're different and probably make a pretty good little impulse buy. And yeah, I might grab one or two.
Yeah, me sure. Yeah, the Carnotaur too. It has the same exact coloring as the proper Mattel figure too, which I just love that kind of synergy they have across all their dinosaur designs. Universal that is. So cool little thing there.
Absolutely. So yeah, lots of good stuff. And it looks like there was some stuff for Lego. And were there any other companies that had stuff on display?
Yeah, I mean, toy-wise, I didn't see, too many other Jurassic toys, but Factory Collectibles, which has had some stuff out in the past for Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. They had a little statue bobblehead of Blue coming out of the egg. They had the Jurassic Park gates with the flickering flames. They're not like massive, immense, high-end collectible statues like you see from Chronic Collectibles or Prime One, but they're modestly priced, a couple $100, but it was awesome. The light flickering on it was really cool. If I ever see that one, I'm definitely picking it up because they also aren't huge either. So it's not like you need, a kitchen table to put your statues on. Like it was small enough that I could fit it within my collection I already have. So they had some cool stuff at their booth. They had these figurines there too that I think we've seen before that had a real cartoony vibe. They had like Grant, Malcolm, and the Raptor. I'm trying to think what the name of those was. I have it right here. They were called Revos, Vinyl Revolution. So they had that at their booth, and just a couple like keychains and stuff like that. Where I saw some Jurassic inner tubes at a different booth. And then another cool thing I saw that I think we have heard something about before was these Mondoids that I have all this on my Instagram. They're like these little vinyl figures, and they had two Jurassic Park ones. Mondoids is created by Mondo Tees, who does all the really cool collectible Jurassic Park posters, and just they do everything. They just do high-end movie collectibles. But they had these T-Rex and Velociraptor Mondoid vinyl figures that were really cool. Their whole shtick is that all these different Mondoid characters are like oozing green slime. Not sure what that's about, but they had like Terminator and like Alien and Predator, but they had the Jurassic Park T-Rex sitting on top of a Jeep Wrangler, and then they had a Velociraptor with his tongue coming out, real gnarly looking. But obviously the that Jurassic design, not just generic dinosaurs. So those are a really cool little find we saw too. But yeah, beyond that, it wasn't anything brand new. And obviously, Mattel and Lego were definitely the highlights of the show for me.
Nice. Yeah, some of these Lego sets, they look pretty wacky.
Yeah, the T-Rex mech definitely was a little much for me, but the egg spinner, which is an actual like cannon ride in Jurassic World, like that was cool to see. Owen's trailer is in one of the sets. Obviously, having a Lego Baryonyx is so cool. And the Triceratops, that I don't know how familiar you are with Lego, but they've had a Lego Triceratops before they had Jurassic World as a toy line, and they're bringing that kind of mold, if you will, back for this set, and it has a cool electric fence that it can knock down. So a lot of cool little play features, a lot of nice little details. It's tied to a miniseries, Legend of Isla Nublar, Lego Jurassic World Legend of Isla Nublar, and I'm interested to see, I know it's going to be a goofy kind of cartoon, but there's going to be some interesting plot points, I think, in there, because if you look at the pictures I took closely, there's a guy holding an old map of Isla Nublar, and then there's people holding new maps of Isla Nublar. So I'm wondering if there's going to be some kind of extended universe sort of hijinks going on that kind of add to the lore of Jurassic. So interested to see where that goes.
Yeah, no, these sets look fun. I did buy all of the ones in 2015, all the Jurassic Lego sets, because
same.
I was really disappointed. All of us were really disappointed with what Hasbro did at the time, and I think we were kind of turning to anywhere else we could find to find quality Jurassic product, and Lego really did that. They really had some really awesome stuff at the time, like the Indominus Rex Breakout and the Raptor Rampage. I mean, all of those sets are great, and of course, it's great to continue seeing them doing that and offering some of these new ones, like you mentioned, the Triceratops, and the Baryonyx looks incredible. The really good stuff.
It's funny because, like you said, in 2015, I think a lot of people went and bought all the Lego sets. I know I did, because you weren't in love with Hasbro. And then come 2018, I didn't buy any of the Lego sets at first because I was spending all my collector money on Mattel toys. So it's just kind of funny how things change.
Yeah,
but
totally.
I think these sets are cool, and I'm actually kind of glad there's only a few to collect. I feel like when Fallen Kingdom came out, there was just too many Legos to even comprehend. So it's nice that they have a little bit smaller of an assortment this year, and good that they're bringing it forward the second year, because they didn't do that with Jurassic World. They did it one year and then didn't do Jurassic sets the next year. So I think that's a good sign.
Absolutely. So, I think that pretty well covers it. If you were to say that one item stood out the most to you and was probably the one thing you're looking forward to the most, what would that item be?
Oh, easily the Indominus Rex, the Destroy and Devour. It's just going to be a great large carnivore to have, a great toy as far as the features go. And I love that character in that movie, so it's going to be great to get a properly created figure from Mattel for that one. Super exciting. That's going to be awesome. So definitely the highlight of the show for me.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I think that's the one thing that people were very excited about, and they finally got to see what it looks like, what it does, and I know that for me also that was probably the most exciting reveal, and can't wait for that to hit stores.
Yeah, and it should be in stores. I think they said fall, so we can be looking for that halfway through summer is when the fall stuff starts to trickle out. So soon enough.
Very cool. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure having you here on the show today. Thank you so much for all the coverage that you did over at New York Toy Fair, looking at all these items and taking the photos and everything. And I know all of us that couldn't be there are immensely appreciative of that. So thank you.
It's great. It was great to join you. Great to kind of share my experience at the Toy Fair. I went out there not as a business or anything. I literally went out there so that I could cover it and share it with people and, bring people in. I've been looking at toy fairs on the internet for, easily 10 years now, watching pictures slowly trickle out, little tiny photo galleries. And, we live in the day and age of social media. So getting to go out there and just take hundreds of pictures and share them with people is what I was all about. So I'm super happy to come onto the show and talk about it a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for being on the show and for sharing your opinions and thoughts on all this, because it's quite a bit of stuff. Not everything we were expecting to see, but, definitely some stuff to keep us talking, obviously, and to keep us excited, because obviously this is going to be an ongoing line, and they're definitely trying to milk it for all it's worth, which I'm totally cool with. So yeah, great stuff all the way around.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks for having me.
Of course. If people want to look you up online, where can they go?
So collectjurassic.com is the main website, and we definitely keep that very up to date with our, whatever major news there is. We try to keep our toy spottings up there and things like that. For the second updates, definitely hit up my Instagram, which is Collect Jurassic, my Facebook, which is Collect Jurassic, and to a lesser extent, my Twitter. I do keep very up to date with that. It just isn't automatic like Instagram and Facebook, and that is also Collect Jurassic. And then I do have a slowly budding YouTube channel, which is also Collect Jurassic, which I do have a few things on there too as well. I did have a quick little live stream of the Toy Fair on that too, if anyone wants to check it out and kind of see the madness in person.
Most definitely. So I will throw links to all of these places in the show notes. So anyone listening, definitely go over there and check out collectjurassic.com and follow Tim on social media.
Awesome. Thank you.
One thing is for sure, our wallets are all going to be a lot thinner. Mattel's Jurassic World toy line is vast. I mean, they just don't make toy lines like this anymore. And as Tim said, it's a good problem to have, even when you're like me and you've just got to have all of it. I anticipate that we'll see more from Mattel at San Diego Comic-Con this summer, and I will be there to cover the latest reveals from all of our favorite toy companies, including Mattel, so I'm looking forward to that. Until then, it seems like there will yet be some new product from Mattel to keep me busy. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, be sure to rate Cantina Chatter and leave a review. In fact, be sure to do that no matter where you're checking out the show, whether it be Google Play or Podomatic or YouTube or anywhere else. This show is a labor of love, and it is here for all of you to enjoy. If you're so inclined, Victoria's Cantina is on Patreon. To gain greater access to Victoria's Cantina and help keep the lights on, be sure to hit that link in the show notes. You can also follow us on Facebook by searching for Victoria's Cantina, Instagram at Victoria's Cantina, and Twitter at Vic's Cantina. As always, thank you for tuning in to the Cantina Chatter podcast.